You know what? We all want love, but most of us don't want to date to get it because, let's be honest, dating kind of sucks. But I fully believe it doesn't have to if we actually know what we're doing. Hi, I'm Kira Sabin, and this is Reinventing Dating, a smart and sweary podcast for all singles to learn the mindsets and skills to date with intention and confidence. Join me weekly as I break down the science and psychology behind what's working in our dating culture and what isn't. Every week, I'll bring a new topic, a trend, a skill, or mindset that can help us get out of our own way to learn how to date for relationships that we actually want. Because I fully believe and know that love isn't broken, but dating kind of is. So let's reinvent it together. Well, hello there, sugar pantses, and welcome. Welcome to another episode of Reinventing Dating. I'm Kira, and I am back with another Foundations episode. We have just one more after this, but this one is a game changer, my friends. It is a game changer. Couple quick announcements. As a reminder, the Reinventing Dating Program is open. It's going to be phenomenal. It starts the weekend of the 11th and 12th of November, and you will completely be able to change your love life in 4 weekends with me. We meet once a month and really dig in. We do activities, we do workshops. You will learn and practice the skills and mindsets for dating with intention to get yourself in a relationship you actually want. If you haven't checked it out yet, go to reinventingdating.com. Now let's get into the topic of the day. So let's talk a little bit about the unsexy things that I've been bringing lately, right? I've been talking about what love actually is versus like love bombing and all of the things. Talked about the stages of a relationship. I also talked about the history of love and dating. Now, I get that when you're seeing these titles, you're like, huh? Really? Really? But I cannot say this enough. This information, this knowledge, these skills, all of them will help. Looking for, finding, and creating a primary relationship with another person is fucking complicated as shit. They've got stuff, you've got stuff, there's triggers, there's trauma. There's exes, there's past relationships, there's childhood stuff usually. So we have to know the knowledge, the mindsets, and skills to be able to work through that with another person. And that's what I teach here in case you're new, in case you've just found me. And today we're going to talk about what I think is crazy fascinating. I learned about the fixed versus growth mindset when I did my positive psychology practitioner program. And the first time I learned about it, and by the way, at that point, I had not applied it or looked at it in the lens of dating and relationships and love. And once I did, I was like, what? So that's what I'm bringing today. It's going to be our second to our last Foundations workshop. And why I'm teaching these and why I think that these are important, it's even why I started this podcast over, is because I want us all on the same page. And I think there's a handful of topics that if every person who's single is out there and knows these topics, dating just got a little bit easier. So I can't say this enough. If you're liking this, share it with your friends, share it with your exes, share it with your coworker who's single, share it with your cousin, share it with your whoever, because this is knowledge we all need to know. And today we're getting into mindsets, and not even mindsets, but just one mindset in particular. Let's get into it. So before we go on, I want to ask you a really quick question, and you can pause the podcast for a second and think about it and then come back. But I want to know, what do you feel are some of the mindsets or beliefs that you learned about love and relationships growing up? How did your parents show love, whether that be to you or to each other? What about your grandparents? What about maybe your friends' parents? What did you learn about love? What did you learn that love looked like and felt like? And if right now you're feeling a little like gross in the insides because you're like, I didn't get to see any of that, or what I saw was terrible. The other place that we get information about love and dating and relationships of course, media, meaning movies and TV shows and books and magazines. All of this makes an impact on how we view love, how we view relationships, and what they're supposed to be. But what do you feel like you learned growing up? Now, a few things that I've heard people say, which go kind of along with our podcast about love, is love conquers all, right? All we need is love. That's what the Beatles told me. So there was a pretty big theme through my childhood that if there was love in a relationship, it was overwhelmingly positive and lasted forever. I also learned about falling in love or falling out of love. And I also learned from my own parents that love looked like not talking about anything, right? Or I learned that if you wanted a long-lasting relationships, you don't talk about anything. You don't talk about your problems. You don't solve any of your conflicts. You just pretend they don't exist and hope that the other person forgets too. And there we go. Now, I would not say that these were mindsets that were great. What did you learn? So the thing is whatever you learned, every day we move through this life with a set of beliefs about ourselves, about others, and the world. And those set of beliefs, which are our assumptions about, ourselves and other people, and our expectations about yourself, your life, and the situations around you, are your mindset. So that's the basic definition, right? The beliefs, the assumptions, and the expectations that you hold about yourself, your life, and the situations around you are your mindset. And your mindset influences how you think, how you feel, and how you behave in any given situation. That's right. Now, that might sound huge, but here is what I know to be true after 15 years of doing this, and just even my own self-work, is that we see the world through, maybe you call them rose-colored glasses. I sometimes call them shit-colored glasses, but just we see the world through the lens of our mindset. Now, sometimes that can be really, really helpful. When we are positive, when we are optimistic, when we are excited, that those glasses are helping us move forward towards our goals. But if you're a human like the rest of us, if you did not have a perfect childhood, if you did not just randomly go to some, academy that taught you how to date and have relationships somewhere along the way, you're out there on your own, raw dog in life, and trying to figure this out, and probably with a mindset, parts of it not helping anymore. So a little bit about the science, because we know I like to bring in the science because, well, it backs all this shit up. So the science behind a mindset is this. A mindset is a succession of thoughts the mind automatically thinks. And I'm going to put in my show notes, right where the little info so you can see it, a great graphic that shows the strong pathway or a weak pathway. And basically, a mindset is automatic because the neural pathways or the thoughts are set in the mind. And the more and more we think something, the stronger that pathway gets, right? Have you ever heard of things like rewiring your brain? There's NLP. I love to talk about neuroplasticity, which is all part of rewiring the brain, all of these things. But what happens is, let's say that you have the thought that you are unlovable, right? Maybe your parents handed that down to you. Maybe they didn't like themselves. Maybe they didn't like each other, but that deep down, you believe you are unlovable, right? Now, let's say something happens to you where somebody shows interest. Now, maybe for a second, that's exciting. Maybe for a second, you're like, oh, okay. But what happens is your pathway to being unlovable is going to show up at some point because that pathway is strong. It is a deep ass groove in your brain. And so even though we want to maybe be different, or we want to do something different, or react different, or respond differently, our pathway in our brain goes right back to, yeah, but you're unlovable. So mindsets are not just how you think and feel and everything throughout every day. Mindsets are actually what you know, what you keep doing, what you unconsciously keep thinking. And the more and more you think it, the stronger that pathway gets. So whether you acknowledge it or not, whether you are aware of that mindset or not, what you believe deep down, what you have known for a long time is in the driver's seat, whether you notice it or not, because those pathways in the brain are going to be stronger than new thoughts. So now where does our mindset come from? It's where all of our stuff comes from. Our childhoods. And that's not supposed to be a bad thing or blaming our parents or anything like that, but just we learn how to be human from the people who are around us most. We learn how to function in our world, how to function in friendships and relationships from the people that we are around. That's usually family members. So maybe what we learned was helpful. But due to the fact that most of us grew up in maybe the 70s or 80s or 90s, I'm guessing your parents didn't know a ton. I'm guessing your parents were not spending their free time going, I'm going to better myself in my relationship, in my marriage, and then I'm going to teach it to my kid. That just didn't happen. It was kind of different times. But what we do know to be true is that our mindsets are built by how we were raised as children and the things that have happened to us in our lives. These thought processes drive our lives and bring about behaviors without our intentional involvement. So that means we react to something. That means we might make a choice. And because these mindsets are so deeply embedded in us, we don't even notice they're happening. We're not even aware. It's without our intentional involvement. And that means most of our mindsets and beliefs are unconscious. So you are unaware of what you are doing and or why you are doing it. And let's be honest, that is very unhelpful when it comes to love and relationships. And when you constantly are hearing and repeating stories about the way things are, that narrative gets daily reinforcement. And then that daily reinforcement becomes what is called the mindset cycle. And this one is inspired by Gandhi, but there's a lot of different versions out there. But it goes like this. Our beliefs become our thoughts become our words become our actions become our habits become our values, and our values become our destiny. That's true, my friends. It's so true. I don't know why I had that super long pause there for a fact, but I did. The thing is that what we believe deep down, whether we're consciously noticing it or not, about ourselves, maybe about men, maybe about dating, maybe about our bodies, whatever it is, what we secretly or unconsciously believe becomes who we are through the self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, that's not even the mindset we're doing today. I'm just throwing that one in for free. But I see a lot of people out there, and I just saw somebody today leave a comment for me that's like, I give up. I've tried. There's lying, there's cheating, there's ghosting, there's rejection, there's all the things. I give up. And though that slightly breaks my heart because I do not want people to give up. And most importantly, I don't want people to deal with lying and ghosting and rejection and cheating. I don't want you in relationships like that, because that once again starts to confirm that mindset of either we're unlovable or we don't know how to choose correctly or whatever it is. But ultimately, my next questions are always going to be a couple of things, because what I'm seeing when I start talking to people, what I'm seeing when I start coaching someone, is not that the world is broken around them or that there's nobody out there for them, but that lens that they're looking through is probably not helping them. And that there's some beliefs, many of them limiting thoughts, that are stuck in their head that are not moving them forward to get the relationship that they want. Now, why does this all matter, right? I want to say this next section is from our superhero today, which is Dr. Carol Dweck. She is a world-renowned Stanford University psychologist and the genius behind the work today from a book called Mindset. Now, according to Carol, I'm just going to call her Carol because I feel like in life we're friends. We're not. She doesn't know who I am, but I am a pretty big fan of hers. So according to Carol, your beliefs play a pivotal role in what you want and whether you actually achieve it. And that includes a relationship. Dweck has found that it is your mindset that plays a significant role in determining achievement and success. Now, mindsets can influence how people behave in a wide range of situations in life. And as people encounter a different situation, their mind triggers a specific mindset that then directly impacts their behavior in that situation. So what she's saying there is, as we're moving through life, maybe as we're dating, maybe as we're getting to know somebody, they may say or do something that triggers something in you to shut down, to start crying, to lash out, to, these are all, by the way, if you're hearing them, fight, flight, fear, fawn, but to automatically react versus respond from your mindset. So something that came up pretty early in my relationship with Danny is we were talking about something. I was maybe a little upset. I don't even remember the moment, but I remember him saying, I think you're being a little dramatic. And let me tell you, it's like the earth shattered around me. It was like record scratch. And I instantly reacted. Now, usually I respond. I think about what he says. I'm listening and I respond. But that word that I'd been called many, many times in my childhood in a not positive way triggers the fuck out of me. So I instantly go into go mode and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm what? You think I'm being dramatic? And, I minorly lost my shit for a second. And then I brought myself back around and I just said, okay, something you should know about me. The word dramatic is a trigger for me. I was called that a lot growing up. It felt really yucky and dirty. Like my emotions didn't matter or were not important. So if we could not ever call me that again, if we can come up with other words or other ways to have a conversation about this, that is going to behoove all of everybody involved. And Danny was like, oh, okay. Because I can guarantee for all my other anxious out there who are like, oh my God, I could never do that. I could never say to somebody and explain to them like that word or that phrase or something, makes me feel bad or brings up automatic childhood shame or things like that. But It's amazing how people will step up when we ask them to. And here's the great thing about a relationship that works and heals is we even joke about it now. And Danny will even tell people like, there are certain things that I don't say because I know they upset Kira and vice versa. And we do that out of respect to each other and our relationship. And I remember him on a retreat not that long ago saying like, I never say the word dramatic because it upsets Kira. So why would I want to say it? But only through self-work and working with a therapist and then a coach and doing my own stuff and research did I realize what was happening there. And then having the ability to share that with Danny so that it doesn't get in the way in our future. It doesn't stop us from love. So let's talk about probably the easiest and most important mindset shift that you can do for a better life. Let's meet the fixed versus growth mindset. Now, Carol did a whole book on this called Mindset. Once again, it's definitely worth checking out. But here is the idea, is that there are two very basic mindsets that people have. And one moves you forward, gets you success, and the other keeps us stuck. So let's talk about the fixed versus growth mindsets and then how it affects dating and relationships. So let's talk first about the fixed mindset. And I definitely, by the way, see this coming up for 80 to 90% of the women I work with when it comes to love and dating. I'm serious. A lot, right? And they don't even know it. So in a fixed mindset, people believe that their qualities are fixed traits and therefore cannot change. These people document their intelligence and talents rather than working to develop them and improve them. They also believe that talent alone leads to success and effort is not really required. Let's talk about what some of the things that somebody with a fixed mindset might say. I'm either good at it or I'm not. I can either do it or I can't. Feedback and criticism are personal. I stick to what I know. I don't like to be challenged. When I'm frustrated, I give up. Now I'm going to take a second here and tell you a personal story where this showed up and I didn't realize it until about a year ago. Okay. And I'm 50, by the way. So that I loved to sing as a child. It was always my thing, right? I don't even want to say like I was really good at it and all that. Just, I loved it. I am tearing up as I say this. I loved it. It was my thing. Music was my thing. I loved to be part of choirs and madrigals and, solo ensemble. And I was in church choir. I was in youth choirs. I was in like a choir with the state of Wisconsin. I kind of did all of these things because I loved singing. In high school, my parents figured out the money to get me voice lessons with a local vocal coach because I loved it so much. So when I chose my college, I chose a music school. I actually knew I always wanted to be a teacher. I can remember in my mind the moment that I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I was like 5. I was visiting my mom at her school. I was watching her teach, and I knew that's what I was going to do. And it's kind of funny because my parents talked me out of education and teaching, but here I am teaching about love. So interesting, right? But I knew I always wanted to be a teacher. And so it only made sense that I would become a music teacher because I loved it. I chose a music school. I went to Luther College in Decorah, Iowa, which has a really good music program. And my kind of private, quiet goal that I don't think I even admitted to myself is I really wanted to do musicals. I really wanted to do Broadway. I really wanted to do all of that. But I was from small town Wisconsin. The college I went to was in small town Iowa. There wasn't a lot of dreaming. There wasn't a lot of like, you go after your dreams and succeed. Like that wasn't really encouraged in my childhood or in my community. That's not where we were. So when I ended up going to Luther, I instantly hit it off with my roommate. Her name is Anne, and we have been friends ever since, but we were best friends through college. And I found out she was a music major too. So I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. I have a best friend. She does what I do. We love the same thing, until I heard her sing. Anne has the voice of a fucking angel. Like, I can't even with it. It's stunning. And I tried out, of course, for the freshman choir and made it. And then I started hearing all of these other people sing, all of these other women sing. And it turns out they were all the best from their school, or one of the best. They were all the big fish from a small pond. Everybody was as talented as me or more. So what did I do? I gave up. And it wasn't instantly. First, I stopped showing up for my solo voice lessons with a really, really talented music professor and vocal coach. So I totally disrespected his time. Next, I didn't make the big choir, which is called the Nordic choir, my sophomore year. I made kind of the lesser than choir, which, by the way, very few sophomores make it. So that's kind of the norm. But my ego couldn't handle it. My mindset couldn't handle it. So I just started skipping choir. I just started not showing up. And I don't know if people were asking me about it or not, but if they were, I'm sure I would have said something along the lines of, ugh, I don't know, I'm just not really into it, or I don't really like the songs we're singing. None of that is fucking true. My heart was broken because I thought I was one thing, and my surroundings now told me I was not that thing, or that was my mindset about it. So guys, I gave up. I gave up singing. I actually ended up in a massive depression, so much that I was vomiting from stress and anxiety. I had to take a semester off. And when I went back, I changed my major to communications and just stopped singing altogether. And besides around the house, I haven't really sang since. Now, part of me just feels like that's part of my story, right? I evolved. I went into communications, which somewhere or some way ended up into this business where I now talk about love and dating and relationships for the past 15 years. And I love it. I wouldn't change a thing. I absolutely love what I do. And besides the frustration of getting clients sometimes, which is part of just the world I live in, I love and am so passionate about what I do. But it hit me over the head like a wrecking ball a couple of years ago when I realized I wasn't bad at singing. I wasn't bad at music. I had a fixed mindset about it. And that fixed mindset made me give up. I didn't fully realize that I could grow that voice instrument stronger, clearer, better with practice. I kind of believed there was just a ton of people who were way more talented than me. So what was the point? But the point was to further my talent. The point was to be able to keep singing at a level that I loved, to keep expressing myself in a way that meant something to me, that felt really, really good. I think we all have to express ourselves. And music was a way to express ourselves. And I would say that's a major connector with Danny and I too, because he's also a musician. He played piano. He plays piano very, very, very well, and plays about 5 other instruments. So music is something that we both value and definitely was a major connector for us. But let's talk a little bit about the growth mindset. So with the growth mindset, people have an underlying belief that their learning and intelligence can grow with time and experience. And when people believe they can become smarter, They realize that their effort has an effect on them. So they put in extra time, leading to higher achievement. So what are some things that people with a growth mindset say? Failure is an opportunity to grow. I can learn to do anything I want. Feedback is constructive. I'm inspired by the success of others. I like trying new things. My effort and attitude determines my abilities. Now, that is not the mindset that I had as a freshman or sophomore in college. So just to really bring this home, because I like to make sure that I overteach so that you really take it away. Here are a couple of more qualities between the fixed and the versus the growth mindset. So the fixed mindset, people with the fixed mindset, they avoid challenges. They shy away from things that they don't know. They're unable to handle criticism or feedback. They believe that intelligence and talent is static and doesn't really develop post-birth. They do not carry out any actions without seeking approval. They're constantly focused on proving themselves. They are threatened by the success of others. Understanding failure as a limit of ability, and they give up easily. Now, if you have the growth mindset, you view challenges as opportunities. You acknowledge and embrace your weaknesses, knowing that they help build your strengths. You learn to give and receive constructive criticism. You realize that intelligence and talent is dynamic and always improving. You prioritize learning over seeking approval or seeking adulation. I mean, isn't it kind of fucked up how much stuff we do for other people to notice, for other people to be like, ooh, good for you, instead of because it fucking fills you up as a person? So the growth mindset focuses on the process instead of the end result, right? Or you might have heard, it's all about the journey, not the destination. Same idea. You're inspired by the success of others. You think of learning as brain training. You understand that failure is an opportunity to grow and as part of the process. And you keep going even in the face of setbacks. So what are some of the benefits of a growth mindset? You're not as scared to try new things. You recover quickly from difficulties or mistakes. You're excited by challenges. It builds self-awareness because you're not scared to look at all parts of you. You're more motivated to try to finish new things. It builds confidence, and you are inspired versus threatened by other people's success. So I want to talk a little bit about the psychology and what Carol Dweck found out researching this, because it is fascinating as fuck. When Carol did this research, she found out that one of the most important ways our mindset develops in our childhood is from one word that starts with a P. Now, I think a lot of people think maybe it's parenting, maybe perfectionism, maybe power, maybe, I don't know, maybe puppies. Puppies kind of make a better mindset, right? It is not. That P is actually praise, as in how you were praised by the adult figures in your life. So maybe that was your parents or grandparents or aunts and uncles, maybe your teachers or your coaches, but how you were praised. So it honestly didn't have a ton even to do with you. So I want to read this little excerpt from the book Mindset by Carol Dweck that I think is really helpful and says it better than I can paraphrase it. So the little section is called, Is Success About Learning or Proving You're Smart? And she goes on to say, Benjamin Barber, an eminent political theorist, once said, I don't divide the world into weak or the strong or the successes and failures. I divide the world into learners and non-learners. Now, what on earth would make someone a non-learner? Everyone is born with an intense drive to learn. Infants stretch their skills daily, not just ordinary skills, but the most difficult tasks of a lifetime, like learning to walk and talk. They never decide it's too hard or not worth the effort. Babies don't worry about making mistakes or humiliating themselves. They walk, they fall, they get up, they just barge forward. So what could put an end to this exuberant learning? The fixed mindset. As soon as children become able to evaluate themselves, some of them become afraid of challenges. They become afraid of not being smart. She said, I have studied thousands of people from preschoolers on, and it's breathtaking how many reject an opportunity to learn. Now, here's what I think is the most interesting part. She said, we offered 4-year-olds a choice. 4-year-olds, guys, 4. They could redo an easy jigsaw puzzle, or they could try a harder one. Now, even at this tender age of 4, children with the fixed mindset, the ones who believed in fixed traits, stuck with the safe one. Kids who are born smart don't do mistakes, they told us. Now, children with the growth mindsets, the one who believed you could get smarter, thought that was a strange choice. Why are you asking this to me, lady? Why would I want to keep doing the same puzzle over and over? They chose one hard one right after the other. I'm dying to figure them out, exclaimed one little girl. So children with a fixed mindset want to make sure they succeed. Smart people should always succeed. But for children with the growth mindset, success is about stretching themselves. It's about becoming smarter. And one 7th grade girl summed it up by saying, I think intelligence is something you have to work for. It isn't just given to you. Most kids, if they're not sure of an answer, will not raise their hand to answer the question. But what I usually do is raise my hand because if I'm wrong, then my mistake will be corrected. Or I'll raise my hand and say, how would this be solved? Or I just don't get this. Can you help me? And just by doing that, I'm increasing my intelligence. And Dweck ended up doing studies on all ages. And one of the things that she said that I think is really interesting is that to Dweck's devastation, the most toxic byproduct of the fixed mindset turned out to be dishonesty. 40% of the ability praised kids lied about their scores, inflating them to look more successful. So ability praised looks like this. Look how smart you are. Look how pretty you are. Wow, you're really athletic. You're really good at math. You're such a natural speller. Now, all I wanted in life was to maybe be told some of these things when I was a kid. I didn't know better, but I did get told on a regular basis how smart I was. But the thing is that with that compliment then came my own shame of, well, if I'm this smart, then why am I maybe struggling in this class? Or if I'm so smart, why can't I focus? P.S. ADHD. And when we praise kids for their ability, such as being smart, being pretty, some things like that, it makes them focus on looking good, not on learning and bettering themselves. So if ability praise creates a fixed mindset, what creates the growth mindset? In case you have any parents out there who have kids and maybe want to start applying this to their kids, so that's where they start learning it. It's called effort praise. So let's look at how this looks differently. And by the way, I still do this with adults. I'm not going to lie, because I still want to encourage this behavior with all people around me. After knowing that I grew up with such a fixed mindset. So effort-based praise, once again, looks like this. So let's say that your child gets a good grade on a science project. The ability praise would be like, wow, look at how good you are at science. The effort-based praise, on the other hand, might sound like this. I'm so impressed at how hard you worked on your science project. Do we see the difference here? One states this is happening because of just a natural talent you have. The other one is, this is happening because you've put some good time and energy and effort into it. Good for you. Here's a couple more examples of effort praise. I see you're putting in a lot of effort to achieve your best work. Or, well done, you worked really hard on that. Wow, you really stuck with it. I see how that was a long and a hard assignment, but you got it done. You must feel so proud at all the hard work and studying you did to make such a big difference. So what we're doing there is we're letting them know from a very young age that, yes, maybe you have some strengths or some gifts that you were given, but that ultimate success is growth. Ultimate success is process. Ultimate success is learning, not the destination. And it's the same for relationships. So Dweck goes on to say that 40% of the ability praised kids lied about their scores, inflating them to look more successful. She laments in the fixed mindset, imperfections are shameful, especially if you feel you're talented. So they would lie them away. She said, what's so alarming is that we took ordinary children and made them into liars simply by telling them they were smart. Now, next, in a study of 7th graders, those with a growth mindset responded to the failing a test with studying harder for the next one. But those with a fixed mindset studied even less. Dweck explained that they would resign themselves to just not having the ability to do well, so they didn't see the point of studying more. And they were more likely to consider cheating. If you're convinced that you can't do it on your own, they reasoned, they'll find another way. Now, that's hard to hear about kids, right? That just because of the way that we are praising them, they are giving up, they're not trying things, they might even cheat. But I want you to think about the adults we know, because this evolves into who we are as adults too. I regularly see singles pretend they like something or pretend they know something or pretend they do something to look better to the person that they're dating or the person they've just met. We are regularly stretching the truth a little bit because we don't want to admit that we don't know about that or we don't know how to do that thing. That might mean there's something wrong with us. So why does this matter in love and relationships? Because love only lasts with a growth mindset. Those with a fixed mindset believe that their ideal mate would put them on a pedestal and make them feel perfect, like the quote unquote God of a one-person religion. Whereas those with the growth mindset prefer a partner who would recognize their faults and lovingly help improve them. Someone who encouraged them to learn new things and become a better person. I mean, isn't that how you guys describe a relationship you want? That you're accepted for exactly who you are, but you also encourage your partner and they encourage you to become better people? That's what Danny and I do. And the biggest thing is that the fixed mindset turns out to be at the root of many of our most toxic cultural myths about quote unquote true love. So one problem is that people with a fixed mindset expect everything good to happen automatically. They don't believe that it's the partner's job to help each other solve their problems or gain skills. They just think this is magically going to occur because they are in love. Their love will conquer all. Love will see them through it. Love can even cure comas like in Sleeping Beauty. Fixed mindsets give love this magical feeling and power that unfortunately doesn't actually exist. Carol says it really good when she says, when people are in a fixed mindset, hard work means you're just not good at this. Because people who are really smart or really talented, they don't have to sweat or work at it. And when we are told our whole entire lives that we're so smart, we come to equate that with not having to work hard like these lesser people. But just as there are no great achievements without setbacks, there are no great relationships without conflicts and problems along the way. That's going to be part of your process. When people with a fixed mindset talk about their conflicts, they assign blame. Sometimes they blame themselves, but a lot of times they blame a partner, and they assign blame to a trait or a character flaw. But it doesn't end there. When people blame their partner's personality for the problem, they feel anger and disgust towards them, and it barrels on. And since the problem comes from fixed traits, they don't think it could be solved. So once people with a fixed mindset see flaws in their partners, they become contemptuous of them and dissatisfied with the whole relationship, which just can really start the separation. Now, what are some of the things that people with a fixed mindset in love say? If this was true love, or if this was my soulmate, or if this was the one, it wouldn't be this hard. Have you guys ever said that? I've heard people say it all over the place. I guess it just wasn't meant to be. Somebody told me that the other day about Danny and I, and I'm like, wow, they do not listen to this podcast or anything about Danny and I were not just meant to be. We met and we created a relationship. Another thing that people with a fixed mindset in love say, I'll know my match when I see it. I'll know it. I'll just know it. They also might say, well, they should know that about me, or they should know what I want, or they should know what makes me feel loved. I shouldn't have to tell them. Because with a fixed mindset, they think having to share their feelings, their needs, means that they don't love them enough. Next, something else that a person with a fixed mindset in love says, I shouldn't have to work at my relationship. If it's not good now, it's never going to be good. Next, if I'm not perfect, I probably won't be loved. People with a fixed mindset in love also say happily ever after, right? Like just happiness happens now for the rest of your life. By the way, Danny and I had some gifts at our wedding, and the default was happily ever after. And we changed it to, and they chose each other every day. Now, with the growth mindset in love, there may still be that exciting initial combustion, but people in this mindset don't expect magic. They believe that a good, lasting relationship comes from effort and from working through inevitable differences. So let's talk about, if you have a growth mindset in love, what that looks like. You're open to dating and meeting new people because you understand that trial and error is part of the process of getting to know new people. You're not scared of feedback or boundaries because it doesn't mean anything personal about you and how lovable you are. Everybody works differently. We have a beginner's mind at the beginning of dating. You know that you won't have any idea if this person is going to be great for you for a while. So you ask questions, you observe, and you assess to see if this person could actually be a great partner for you, rather than falling into feelings and hoping it works out. Next, if you have a growth mindset in love and relationships, you stay more motivated to keep trying, because learning and improving our dating and relationship skills is more important than doing it perfectly or right every time. And then finally, having a growth mindset in love and relationships means that we understand that love is a moment and that relationships are a journey. There is no destination. There's no falling in love and then you stay there forever. There's creating relationships where love shows up every day. And that only happens with a growth mindset. Finally, I like to say that people with a growth mindset in love and relationships understand that they need to keep trying. They aren't taken out by failure. They aren't taken out by a divorce. They don't think that because somebody ghosted or rejected them, that now dating is over or they are unlovable. They realize that dating is a process. It's a skill. And choosing the right partners is also a skill. Now, I want to say, when I say things like we stay more motivated to keep trying, we understand that love is a moment, relationships are a journey. That doesn't mean that we allow bad behavior. That doesn't mean that we accept bullshit, like lying or cheating or anything like that. And then most importantly, a growth mindset in a relationship only works if both people understand that there's going to be problems, that there's going to be conflict, that there's going to be ups and downs, that you're going to have to learn how to work through these things together. And if one person is not invested in that relationship process, You are not in a real relationship. You're in some kind of a situationship. Maybe you're in a friendship, but you're not in a relationship where love is going to be created every day. And I don't mean to be shitty about that. I don't mean to be mean about it. But the thing is there's a lot of people here trying to have relationships with people who have no interest in trying to have a relationship, have no interest in learning the mindsets or the skills to get through problems and conflict. They want it to be exactly what feels good to them and nothing else. That is fear, my friends. That has nothing to do with love. So if you're starting to recognize yourself as in maybe you have a fixed mindset, and by the way, we might have a growth mindset at work and a fixed mindset with dating and relationships. You can have a spectrum of mindsets for different areas of your life. But if you know, listening to this, that maybe you need to work on your growth mindset when it comes to love and dating and relationships, first of all, I teach that. Reinventing Dating Program starts next week. It's 4 weekends. All the information is at reinventingdating.com. I teach this as well as so much more helpful information that will get you into relationships that don't suck, that you actually want, with partnerships, not a bunch of bullshit where one person's doing everything and the other person's doing jack shit. But if that is not part of your journey right now, that's okay. I understand that money and timing can get in the way. Here is the easiest way to start changing your mindset. And by the way, Dr. Carol Dweck has an incredible TED Talk kind of around this, so I will make sure that I have that in the notes. I think it's a really good watch. But she suggests to add the power of the word yet. So I can't do this yet. This doesn't work yet. I don't know how to date yet. I'm not a good communicator yet. So anything that we are instantly kind of downplaying in our head that we can't do, just add the word yet. I told you the story earlier about going to college and, leaving choir, leaving singing, leaving my program because of a fixed mindset. Here's the cool thing. At 50, I actually believe that I'm capable of doing virtually anything at this point. Maybe not the Olympics, but a lot of things, right? For a long time, I would say, God, I suck at math. Turns out I don't really have a ton of interest in math. I haven't put a ton of time or energy or effort into math. So of course I'm not going to be good at it. I'm good at things that I put a lot of time and interest and energy in. And by adding the word yet into your vocabulary more, it just signals your brain that despite any struggles, you can overcome anything. The other thing I'm going to encourage you to do is really look at the content that you are consuming. When it comes to love and dating relationships, are you watching Hallmark movies where everybody magically falls in love and it all works out? Or are you also making sure that you're consuming content that tells the truth about what relationships are? Look at where you're getting your love, your dating, and your relationship information, whether it be from TV or online or friends. Are these people happy? Are your relationship role models people that you inspire to be and learn from? You want to be looking for growth, for communication, people who know that they need to fix, that they talk through problems. Being able to see other happy couples in working in healthy relationships inspires us to know that we can do it. Because it's really going to be hard to keep a growth mindset about love and dating if all you're doing is talking to your other single friends about how bad dating is, or how there's nobody out there, or how all the good ones are taken or gay. Whatever things that you tell yourself that ultimately, if you truly subconsciously believe, is going to sabotage what you're doing. Our mindset is powerful, whether we acknowledge it or not. Our mindset is in the driver's seat, whether we are aware of it or not. Do you believe that love is out there for you exactly at your current age, size, where you live situation? Because if not, there's a very good chance that it's not love that's failing you, it's your mindset, but I can help you work on it. Was this helpful? My gosh, I hope so. This was basically a little masterclass in the fix versus growth mindset. I hope you learned a ton. Please, if you did love it, share it with everybody you know. Share it on your Instagram, your Facebook. As we know, we can find me on TikTok now with my whole 42 followers. And make sure that you subscribe, because I'm here every week and I'm going to be bringing some solid ass knowledge that can help change the way we date. Check out the program at reinventingdating.com. Or if you know that you want to work on this with me one-on-one, just reach out. Kira at reinventingdating.com. Let's get the conversation started. We'll jump on the phone and we'll see how I can be great for you in changing the way that you date so you can get in a relationship that you actually want. Okay, guys, thank you so much for being here. I will see you around the Insta, the Facebook, the TikTok, the YouTube. But until next week, meet love halfway.